Hi guys, I'm Nina.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Ethan.
And we are Bloody Essentials. We just want to thank everybody who's already supported the podcast. It really means so much to us. Words can't even describe how much it means to us. And you really help us continue to do what we do. And we love doing this each week. So thank you guys so much for supporting us.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
If you wouldn't mind, if you like what you see here and you want to, see more of it, please like, follow, subscribe. Also, if you could leave a review of the podcast, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, please review. It helps spread the word. It helps, share your what you like about us share your feedback with us and all that good jazz. So if you guys don't mind doing that, we'd really appreciate it. Yeah. And shout out to our Patreon, Rick Paulton. Rick, thank you seriously for everything that you do. I can't begin to tell you all that you do for us because you probably don't even realize how much it means to have you as a supporter. But seriously, thank you. And we are so grateful to have you as a follower.
Yes.
And a friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to be mentioned in our episodes as well and receive fun little goodies from the entire Bloody Essentials crew, like, unedited episodes of me not being able to talk, it's there on our Patreon. All the money goes back into the podcast 100%. It helps us improve our equipment, recording, programming, editing software, things like that. And, you get awesome goodies. There's Discord channels that we have. Monthly movie parties starting next month, hopefully. So we're very excited.
Yeah, join in the fun.
Yep.
Definitely.
No upcoming appearances as of yet, but that is soon to change, I assure you.
Oh, yeah. It's New Year. We're just planning it out. We're just plotting it out. There's going to be some good stuff coming up.
Definitely.
A whole lot of good stuff.
Tonight is a very special episode. For me.
Disclaimer for you.
We are finally doing a movie that I knew we needed to cover from the very beginning of starting this podcast that not a lot of people have covered as of yet. Skinamarink 2022. And we have some very special guests with us tonight. We have the stars, 3 of the stars of the Skinamarink movie. We have Ross Paul, who played father or dad. We have Lucas Paul, who is Kevin in the film. And we also have Dali Rose Tetrault from Skinamarink, and she played Kaylee. So very excited to have all 3 of them here tonight. All right, we have stars of Skinamarink here with us. We have Lucas and Ross Paul. Hi guys, how are you?
Hello.
It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah. Just quick start out. I know you both like horror movies, so can you guys tell us what's one of your favorite horror movies right now?
I just watched The Pope's Exorcist last night. That was actually really good. I was impressed, and Russell Crowe, he's a great actor too. But man, that was creepy. It was good.
It was really good. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, the effects and the storyline, the acting was great. The cinematography, like everything was, in my opinion, was on point, and it delivered. I thought, and it was pretty cool. I like the whole Vatican thing, and it got me asking questions.
Yeah. Lucas, what about you?
He
Halloween.
just started watching horror movies this past year. His mom and I just started kind of like.
Oh my gosh.
It's 2025. All the kids are watching horror movies. More stuff like The Predator and stuff like that.
Ooh.
That's awesome. I did want to ask you guys, when you read through the script for the first time, what did you think of it initially?
I wasn't sure what to think. I mean, when I first read it, it seemed like a typical movie. I had a lot of questions. I was just wondering what it was going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I haven't looked at the script in a while. I still have the script. And I can tell you, looking when I viewed Skinamarink for the first time, like when Kyle sent us the link just to view it privately before it premiered, it was not what I thought at all.
Interesting.
From the script to the filming, even filming it, I was like, what is he doing? Because I wasn't let in on the process at all. I didn't know what kind of movie it was exactly. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
thought it was a typical movie from like a production standpoint. But yeah, from the script to shoot day to seeing it, I was like, what the fuck? If I'm being honest, not in a bad way. I was just
Yeah.
but I appreciated it because I knew it was something completely different, and
Yeah.
he was trying to. I understood what he was trying to do. He wanted to break out from the cookie cutter. You know what I mean? He wanted to do something completely off the rails, and obviously he nailed it. So
yeah.
And, can you guys tell us a little bit about what the filming process was like? I mean, tell us a little bit about the shoot itself. How did it work?
the house was dark. Most of the time. It was fun. Well, I know you had a fun time because you just said let you be a kid. You're playing with Legos, just doing his own thing, sitting on the TV, just have fun, and he just basically Kyle and the cameraman just doing their thing. Yeah, he was just left in his own world to just play. Then they turned the lights off, and then they snuck up on them with the camera, but they didn't know. That's how it got. You didn't even know you were being filmed.
Ross, what's one of your favorite memories from filming?
I think sitting down with Kyle when I was doing the phone scene, like when we had to record the audio, I really enjoyed that process. It was kind of because Kyle and I were getting to know. I don't think him and we never had a chance to hang out, so it's kind of my first time meeting him in person and working with him. So it was kind of like a moment where we were getting to know each other, but also working together at the same time. And he was so laid back, and I'm pretty laid back, and he was very. He had his direction and his vision, but at the same time, he was really open to what I wanted to do at the same time. He's like, yeah, cool. I'm just going to let you do whatever you need to do, sort of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, it was really easy. He's really great to work with. He listened to us as well as gave direction. He's professional, but also caring and fun at the same time.
Sounds like he gave you a lot of room to interpret the script too for yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. There was room to play. He understood that actors. The best thing is give direction, but allow your actors to play a little bit too, and that's where the real magic happens.
I agree, definitely.
Definitely. And what has it been like to kind of see all the different theories about what the movie means and just people's kind of reactions to it? What's that been like? Because I found so many different theories on this movie.
Polarizing. Skinamarink sucks. I'd rather watch my paint dry on my wall. Wow. I'd rather go stare at my grandmother's, I don't know, basement floor or something. But then, I've heard that and saw that, and then I've also seen people jump in and defend it. That was actually the best. You don't know what you're talking about. They're just watching the two sides fight it out on the internet. It's been hilarious. I just laugh. I don't take any offense, especially when they. for the most part, people have been respectful towards the actors. They didn't really like hate on us at all. It was just more like the film itself. But for the most part, there was still respect. And there were some people that were like, I respect what they're trying to do, but we don't understand what the hell is happening.
Sure.
Like, what is this? Like, is this just a documentary of someone's wall in their bathroom? They didn't get it. It was just great to see everybody else's interpretation. A perfect example would be some people, there was an argument of whether or not Kevin, his character, was in a coma or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's still an ongoing debate. And if
Yep.
the whole thing's just a dream sequence or if it's really happening. Like, till this day, people still fight about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
I
interesting.
actually don't know. Kyle didn't give me anything. He refuses to give up anything to anybody.
I love
And that's
that.
smart on his part, and I respect that because he wants to leave it. Because that's what's keeping it alive too, right?
Yeah, Ross, the last time we talked, I think there's been a lot of debate on the internet about how to classify this movie. A lot of people have called it found footage, but it's not found footage. I think you called it analog horror, I think, last time we spoke, right?
Yes, that's been one. I think that's kind of a new genre, they call it now, analog, because that isn't. Yeah, that gives you that VHS, the old 80s feel. Found footage is more like Blair Witch, when they find footage and it's on the person the whole time. So I think people are still getting that confused.
I know you guys have a project you have coming up. What can you tell us about that project? Is it horror related or is it something different?
I have a comedy written and directed by Tim McCourt called Alienate.
Nice.
That was a lot. I haven't had that. That was my first time with that much dialogue and that much screen time. I had 4 big scenes, and it was. I love comedy. I found out I'm actually funny. So the comedy Alienate is due out within the next few months, and then another horror was called The Baphomet Seance.
Ooh.
And we've had to be careful what to say about that because of the way it's been marketed. But it's written and directed by Douglas Vermeer. I think Lucas and Lucas's brother. He wanted to give his brother a chance. He's like, let's see what your brother can do this time. Because Rylan, my older son, they haven't been in any films before. Like, Lucas has only had Skinamarink, and then before that, him and Rylan were in a Save the Turtles, environmental commercial or whatever. So that was their first time on that. There's another comedy, which I had a small part in, called My Movie, starring Paul Dano.
Cool.
Nice.
Written and directed by Joe Bartone, I believe. So I have 3 films, technically, coming out this year. And then Doug just called me today and asked if we wanted to take part in another one. And I think Lucas is going to have a bigger role than me. I'm going to have the small role this time, and he's going to have a major role in that film. So I am friends with Terry Gerald. He had a hit movie, Carlos Haunt.
Yeah.
Which is distributed under Bayview Entertainment, same as Skinamarink. And so he's doing a sequel called Carlos Haunt 2, and he wants Lucas and I in that one, and that's going to be filmed down in Orlando, Florida.
Ooh.
I think at the end of the summer. And he's also trying to get us hooked up with maybe a couple of conventions or something, like a meeting in there.
That's exciting. Yeah.
So we'll keep you posted.
We're just so thankful that you guys came on the show. It really means a lot to us that you guys thought of this little podcast to be one of your first interviews after Skinamarink mainly. And, just thank you for your generosity, your friendship. It means a lot to us. And we are so excited to see what you guys have coming up. And please keep in touch. We really appreciate all of the well wishes, the kind thoughts. And we're just very thankful to, share your work with the world. So
definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a very special guest with us. We have Dali Rose, who was the star of Skinamarink. She played Kaylee. How are you, Dali?
I'm doing really good.
It's good to see you.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have a question to start us off. I know that you love horror movies. What's your favorite horror movie right now?
Oh my gosh. That's such a hard decision. There's so many good ones.
I feel that.
What's some of your favorites like right now? You don't have to name a specific one, but like what are some of your top favorites?
I really like Terrifier 2 because that one's really cool. I also really like Halloween 2, and also I think Saw 3 is really cool too.
I love Saw 3. That's my favorite
do
of the Saw
too.
movie, honestly.
Cool.
Dali, what was your reaction the first time you read through the script, like for the first time for Skinamarink?
I felt really nervous but excited at the same time because I've always like watched horror movies and I thought how could they do that? But then like when I read the script, it was really exciting. I felt really cool.
That is so cool. And tell me a little bit about, what do you like about acting? What are some of your favorite parts about being an actress?
It would have to be meeting like new people and having a really nice experience, having a fun time, but also making something really creative and fun. And it's just really cool.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, what was your favorite part about filming this movie?
Seeing how the process is made, because it's really like a whole new experience unlocked for the first time, because that's like my first ever movie ever, and it's just really fun to see how it's made and see the cameras and the instructions and how all the jobs that the people work, and it's just
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That's so cool.
What was your audition process like? Was it in person? Did you have to record a video? What was that like?
My mom, she knew Kyle as a friend, and she heard that he's looking for an actress for a movie, and it was the kid that was like up to my age. So she submitted a video of me to him, and then he got the part for the role.
That's really cool.
Tell me what it felt like to find out that you got the part. What was that like?
A burst of excitement because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll be in my first movie. This is so awesome.
Wow.
Do you plan on doing any more acting?
Yeah. Right now, like I'm auditioning for roles for like I'm more into horror movies, so I'm trying to audition more roles into that. Yeah.
That's
we
awesome.
love that. We love that here because we love scary movies.
Definitely.
Yes, for sure.
If you could work with any horror actor, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. I really like Mia Goth. She's so cool.
She is.
Yeah.
We love her.
She would be really fun to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Dali, for much of the film, the audience only occasionally gets glimpses of you and Lucas. How much of the filming was actually all of you on set, and how much was like audio being recorded later?
So it was like first, I'm pretty sure we shoot the scenes first. Mm-hmm. So we get the instructions and the whole process, and then we do the voiceovers, like the voice things to be inserted to make the movie even more better.
Nice.
What do you think was the most challenging or kind of like tough part of shooting? What was like the hardest part?
For me, it was trying to not smile because it was just really nice and fun meeting Lucas and Kyle, and it's like a whole meet up with friends.
Yeah,
and
I love
that.
that.
Really lovely.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of friends, what do your friends at school and stuff think about you being an actress in a real movie?
Oh my gosh. So at first they were like, you are not telling the truth. So I'm like, well, you can Google me on Google, and I was trying to not brag. So and then they were like, "Oh my gosh, it's you," and I'm like,
So yes, it is me.
Yeah.
Love that. What's one of your favorite memories from filming?
oh. So on one of the we had a lunch break, and it's basically we got to eat lunch. So I got even like a more time to meet the other people even more, and I like pretty. And I also had a really fun time with Lucas, and we talked about a lot of stuff, and we also learned that we have some like things and that we can get along with. So that's,
Nice. Did you and Lucas play any games on set?
I think so, but I don't really remember.
I totally get that.
What was it like to like practice and get ready for this part? What did you do to kind of prepare?
So, me and my mom, so we were going over the scripts together, and we just were like kind of reading it. It was kind of like reading a book, so we were just practicing.
Okay.
Nice.
Now, do you keep in contact with Lucas or anybody else from the movie?
I
Yeah.
have I have like Lucas I like text him sometimes, and it's just nice to like check up on each other in a while, see how we're both doing.
That's awesome. What has the reception to the film been like? I know this is kind of a polarizing movie for audiences. Some people really love the movie. Some people are confused by it. What has it been like since the film's been released for you?
It's been awesome to see how the people are reacting and how everything is like how people are trying to make their own theories and piece together. It's really fun because I've seen like a couple of theories on it that I like heard about, or yeah. And it's just really nice to see people who are deep into the film actually pay focus and attention. And it's just
Aw.
That is so
Speaking
cool.
of theories, do you have a theory about who the monster is, or what he's up to, what they're up to?
Well, there is like a lot of theories that are convincing.
I've read some.
Yeah. Nice.
But I don't think I really have a theory on it but it's really nice to hear other people's opinion.
Okay.
Definitely. Now, being an actress, especially in a horror movie, is a lot of people's dreams. I mean, right here, what advice do you have to somebody who maybe wants to act in a movie? Like, what would you tell them?
For me, I would say that to be yourself, have fun, and just like kind of relate to people, have a good time, make it memorable, and make sure it's a well experience that you can remember and like tell other people, and it's just wow.
Dali, I cannot begin to express how much I enjoyed the movie watching you in it. It's clear that you all had a very strong connection, and I am so excited to see what next steps your journey takes you on. But I'm definitely seeing many more horror films in your future, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to see what you do next.
Yes.
It was really nice to get to talk to even more people.
Yeah.
Well, yes, definitely. And we're just so thankful that you took the time to be with us tonight, and we can't wait to share your interview and your kind words with everyone in the horror community. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Have a good night and good wishes.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
See you.
It's so great talking to young people that are interested in horror.
It makes me excited for the future and everything. The children are the future, and they're into horror. Okay.
Yeah. And thank you to the awesome parents that introduced them to horror.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Let's get into, I know this is a first time watch for you two. So maybe we'll save what you guys thought of the movie for the end. But I think if people really know us very well and they're regular listeners, they can already guess which way we can kind of lean here.
Oh, yeah.
But when you first heard about Skinamarink, let's talk about that. When was the first time you guys actually heard about Skinamarink?
I mean, I heard about it when it was really, really buzzworthy. You know, we can save the story about what happened with it that made it that way till the end or whatever. But yeah, it was getting a lot of attention. I was seeing a lot about it online. And, you know, me, I'm like, ooh, it's a lo-fi, like experimental, like horror movie. That's right up my alley. So I've always been interested in seeing it. I don't know why it's taken me so long to. It's probably just because it's one of those movies that I knew I'd have to pay attention to. A lot of times I put movies on and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm picking up pieces of it. But this one I'm like, no, I actually need to sit and watch it. So I think that's probably the only reason that I waited so long to see it. But I was interested in it from the very beginning.
Yeah. Ethan, what about you?
I heard about it when there was the big buzz as well, you know, in the horror community. And I'm like, okay, so, you know, whenever I hear about something, I write it down. I'm like, all right, I got to go ahead and, you know, put that on my roster of things to watch. So I was like, it was on there. And then I started talking to people and they were like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get into all this. And I was like, maybe we're just going to move that down a little bit and move it down a little bit because other things were coming out. Not that you know, but other things were coming out. And I was like, okay, well, we'll just drop that down a couple of rings. And then finally you were like, oh, we're going to do this movie. And I was like, rock on. Let's go ahead and do it.
It's time.
And so then we did it. And here we are.
Ooh,
all right.
This is going to be a fun one, guys.
Well, spoiler alerts for people who have not seen it yet. Stop it right here, this episode, and go watch it and then come back because there will be spoilers.
Yes.
I will say for the people that have seen it, I'm sure you're wondering how the hell are you going to be doing this? Because we do plot points, and I'm sure you're like, I don't even know what happened in that movie. I don't know how you're going to do plot points. I assure you we're doing it.
Kind of what I thought, and I'm one of the hosts. So.
We are doing it.
We're gonna take you on a journey, guys. We're gonna clear some things up here.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right.
And Nina, go.
All right. So first off, I'm just going to abbreviate this little section. There's probably about five minutes ish about at the opening of the movie, and it's basically just lots of images shown throughout in different direct shots or out of focus shots. And you're not really sure what is happening at this particular point.
Correct.
Everything is from like a child's perspective too. It's like all low angles, so it's
Very
like hard to make out what's happening. Things are kind of grainy, you know, like analog. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. I will say this is set in 1995. I don't think that was made clear at the beginning, but it is 1995 when this is happening. So toys are out of date, furniture might look out of date, that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind as we watch this picture. And then we hear one of the children ask, and when I have it in my notes, one of the children, that's because I wasn't quite sure which one it was. Other times I know exactly who it is, so that's why I specify. So here I'm not really sure which child it was. So we hear one of the children ask, "Are you hiding?" And you know, they slowly begin to count before we hear some banging sounds come from up the stairs. We see lights going on throughout the different rooms. And then we hear a child sobbing, and then a car engine turn on, and then it sounds like the car is driving away. And then Dad, as he's referred to in the cast list, we never see any of the characters directly, right? We just see like their hands, their feet, whatever it is, right? So we know it's Dad. He picks up a phone, and he had called for Kaylee, but he picks up the phone and we hear him talking to someone. We don't know who it is. And he says, you know, he's fine, but you know, Kevin fell down the stairs and he hit his head. No stitches were needed. Kaylee says he was sleepwalking. And then we see Kaylee. She's standing in the doorway to the bedroom. She calls her dad, and she wakes Kevin up. And then all of a sudden we see windows and doors slowly disappearing. And, the kids continue to call for their dad. They search all over the house for him. They try to even use the phone, which is logical. But if you're a millennial or older like us, you know what that tone is. It's a disconnected tone. So the phone is not working. They have no way to call for help. Windows and doors gone, right?
Yeah. And I gotta say, like, I do really like the concept there. Like, I think that's really extremely creepy to think about, like, waking up in your home and the windows and doors are gone. And it's like, I mean, the kids even say at one point, like, where'd they go or something like that. And it's like, think of how that's like such a creepy, cool concept to me. I actually was telling a coworker about this movie and she said she thought that sounded wonderful. She was like, oh, if I could just wake up and there are no windows or doors, like, great.
It would be terrifying if you're under 10.
Yes.
And your parents are also gone.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's basically what's happening. They can't get out. So they have no communication with the outside world. And both of their parents are not at home. So naturally, kids do what any kids would do. They grab blankets. They basically camp out in the living room, the central point of the home, right? Makes sense. That's where you usually go when you're sick, watch TV, that kind of thing. You feel comforted. And they just turn on old cartoons to take their mind off what's going on. Kevin mentions, he can't fall asleep with the lights on. So she goes and turns them off. I wouldn't be able to sleep with the lights out, but that's just me.
In that situation, I would need something like a nightlight or something because things were creepy. Like they keep hearing their sounds we're hearing. And yeah, it's a disorienting situation that they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going to sleep at all. I woke up and there's no windows or no doors. I'm like, no, I'm staying up.
Kids. Yeah. They're kids. There's nothing to do. Can only watch old cartoons so much. And it's clearly they're watching it on VHS because I'm sure they don't have a TV signal. Yeah. So, they fall asleep with the cartoon sounds going in the background. Apparently it's the next day. We have no way of knowing because they have no windows. But Kaylee says, she thinks it's time for them to get up. And, Kaylee tells Kevin she's going to go upstairs and get some things. Kaylee brings down some toys, coloring stuff, that kind of thing. And Kevin, we've got this dialogue back and forth between Kevin and Kaylee, and I think it's very interesting. I'm not quite sure how to interpret it, I'll be honest. But Kevin, he's like, why is mom crying? How come no one's come yet? And Kaylee's just like, I don't know. And then Kevin says, maybe we should just, and then it cut off because there's some banging sounds going on upstairs. And then, they're asking each other, what was that? And then banging intensifies. And Kaylee says, we should just be quiet. Mm-hmm. Potential, for something going on at this point. Like they're not sure what's going on, but clearly something is going on and it's angry.
Yeah. And at this point, they're starting to, I feel like, recognize that there is some kind of presence in the house. I think before they were just kind of taking it in, like the situation. Now it's like, there's definitely a presence.
Yeah. There's something not right here.
Yeah. There's something with us. We are not alone, even though we can't see what's here. Kevin asks Kaylee where she thinks dad is. He theorizes he might have gone to be with mom. And we kind of get a little hint into their lives before this. And she just says, she doesn't want to talk about mom right now. And
do you guys have an interpretation? I was like, either mom has passed away by this point because she wasn't in the house with dad when dad was talking on the phone about Kevin hurting himself. So my interpretation or my theory was that like mom has maybe passed away, or it's like mom maybe left, but it's kind of ambiguous. But I kind of took it as maybe mom has passed on, at least at that point.
I think I honestly never thought of that. I just assumed mom left or mom wasn't very nice to them. Yeah. And that's just my personal stuff coming up, and I'm using that lens to look at this. But I think that I think it's more ominous to think that mom passed away somehow. and dad is with mom now. And
That's
it makes
kinda
more
where I
sense.
went with it.
It makes more sense later on in the movie, and we'll get to that. Right?
Yeah.
Ethan, what about you? What did you think
I'm
about?
gonna say dad killed mom.
You
I
think
know that
dad
wasn't in the
killed
movie,
mom?
but that made me feel better. So
Okay, can we get a serious interpretation?
no, I actually didn't think about the mom passing either. I thought that mom just dipped.
Dipped, yeah.
Yeah, she was
Makes
just like,
sense.
see ya.
Yeah. Or they just got divorced, not a good
Right.
relationship between the parents, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
When I mean dipped, I mean they were divorced and
Yeah.
he left the kids. So.
Yeah.
Right. That's a possibility.
Either one, yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong interpretation here because we never know.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to my original, the dad killed mom. So go ahead.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong with this movie. I'm making up what I want. So tell me I can't.
Choose your own adventure tonight.
Exactly. I had to get through the movie somehow. So
if you roll between a 5 and a 10, mom got killed by dad. Yeah.
There you go.
The kids fall asleep in their little blanket fort. Kevin wakes Kaylee up. This is one of the funnier parts of the movie, I thought. Kevin wakes Kaylee up to look at something, he says. The toilet has been taken.
Yeah, I just wrote, there goes the toilet.
Yeah. So Kaylee
Talk about
gets a bucket for him.
scary.
Right.
Listen, there's a fast way to make you feel real uncomfortable real fast, and that's by making you feel less than human. And that is a quick way to do that.
Yeah, there's no toilet now. Like that is a situation. Things are definitely heating up here. That would be, yeah. I'd be like, what are we supposed to do? Where'd it go?
Keep that in the back of your mind for later because I'm going to bring it back up again. Okay.
Okay.
That could definitely end up being a shitty situation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Especially when there's no doors or windows. Where are they putting it?
Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. Kaylee's standing outside the makeshift bathroom, and she's waiting. And while she's waiting for Kevin to finish, she's examining her room, what I presume is her room, right? It looks like a little girl's room.
Yeah.
And she looks up at the ceiling and she sees one of her dolls is like hanging from the ceiling, almost like it's magnetically hanging there, There's no explanation. No, we can't see how or why or any of that. And then we get a great little jump scare where Kevin sneaks up on Kaylee, and then they go back downstairs and, they're playing with Legos and stuff. And then Kaylee hears a strange voice, and that's just what it says in subtitles because I had to watch it with subtitles.
I watch all my movies with subtitles, but this one for sure.
This one for sure
Had
needed
to have
subtitles.
subtitles on this one.
Yeah. We hear a strange voice, and it says Kaylee's name, and it tells her to come upstairs. I don't know about y'all. I would not be going upstairs. There is nothing that could drag me away from my little brother at that point in time. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, kids are like very open. That's why a lot of times when you have like possession movies or there's like entities, they usually target children because they're open-minded, they're trusting, all that stuff. But yeah, if I'm thinking about it, if I was with my younger brother, I probably wouldn't leave his side in that situation. If we were like that age, I think I would have just been like staying downstairs with Kevin.
Yeah, or I would have brought Kevin with me. But
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Kaylee goes to what we presume is Dad's room. We actually see what appears to be Dad, and I do say what appears to be Dad, sitting on the edge of the bed. We hear Dad's voice saying, look under the bed. She does. And, she says there's nothing there. We don't see anything there. We just see grainy darkness. And she looks again, and there's still nothing there. But when she sits back up, she sees a figure that we presume is Mom. And Mom's sitting on the other side of the bed. Dad's figure is gone. And Mom says Kaylee's name. We get some weird moments where there's some banging off in the background, and Kaylee... The camera basically is Kaylee, right? It's her perspective. So she turns to look towards the banging. She slowly looks back. It's very paranormal activity in this moment where the camera pans and turns and stuff like that. And she looks back at Mom. And we have this dialogue from, again, what appears to be Mom. she says, your father and me, again, some more banging. And then Kaylee turns back and then back again. And then the mom says again, we love you and Kevin very much. And then the mom figure says, Kaylee, I need you to close your eyes, please. And the camera goes dark. It looks like it's actually Kaylee's eyes, right? And so Kaylee closes her eyes. And then when she opens them again, mom is gone. And then we start to hear these banging sounds and scratching and muffled sobs. And then we hear the strange voice again. And, there's someone here, is what the voice says. And then we hear mom moaning. And the strange voice tells Kaylee she needs to go back downstairs. And then we hear bones cracking. So what did we interpret that scene as? I'm not done here. Sorry. We get this loud beeping noise and then the screen goes white. So what did we interpret that as? Did we think that was actually mom? What did you guys just not know?
I had no clue.
No clue.
I wasn't 100% sure. I mean, as far as like the sound of the bones and everything, yeah, I wasn't really sure. I know it was mom there for a minute. But in the darkness that preceded or happened after that, I'm not sure. I wasn't sure exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely weird because, you hear the bones cracking. So you're not sure if whatever this entity thing is, creature, entity, whatever it may be, you think that there's a piece of mom that's there because it, I love you very much. We love you both very much, that kind of thing. And then the bones cracking, it implies that there might be something there that was once mom.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying the monster could possibly be mom in some way or partially.
Or bring mom into the fold
Right.
somehow. Yeah. I mean, we don't know the links of its powers, so.
Yeah.
It likes to steal toilets.
And toys.
And toys, yeah.
And windows.
And windows and doors.
Yes. And parents.
All of it. Oh my. I think we found the title of the episode. Kaylee goes back downstairs. Kevin asks where she was. She doesn't answer. She just says, help me move the couch. And they kind of barricade the living room off because Kaylee knows what's up. She knows she's in a horror movie at this point, right?
Right. Yes, she does.
And at this point, they're trying to turn the light switches on and off. No lights are coming on. They just have a flashlight at this point. Kevin just keeps asking what happened upstairs. Kaylee will not answer. And then some time goes by. Kevin is calling out for Kaylee and he cannot find her. So it's just Kevin on his own right now. And he's 5.
No, it's so terrifying in that sense. Because now his only person who was there, his teammate on this, his sister's, he can't find her.
Yeah. And it's what are you doing for food?
Mm-hmm.
You can't cook. There's no way you're cooking. Yeah.
Can't even reach the cooking stuff, the stove and everything.
It probably wouldn't come on anyways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he's playing with his toys for a while, and then we see the toys are suspended on the wall in a similar fashion to how Kaylee's toy was in her bedroom earlier in the film. And then we hear the strange voices calling for Kevin, only this time it tells him to go down to the basement. And it's I would not go upstairs, but I'm definitely not going down in the basement. But he goes anyways because he's a kid and he's stupid. And we hear Kaylee, she's calling for Kevin. It's very muffled, almost like she's being gagged or she's got tape over her mouth or something. And we hear what I presume is Kaylee. I think it's Kaylee. She says she's scared. She feels drained. We see Kaylee and there's no eyes, no mouth.
Yeah. And I will say this is around 58 minutes in, and that is really the first time in the whole movie so far that we see a glimpse of a face.
Right.
And it's not even a full face. Yeah.
Yeah. So thought that was very interesting. I actually think that's part of the reason why some people probably have trouble with this because, you connect to human faces. Human faces resonate with humans. And you don't really, I think there's 2 or 3 times that you kind of see a face. But that's the first time we've seen a face for a glimpse.
Yeah, definitely. And, they say the eyes are the window to the soul. It's like you have no way to connect to Kaylee anymore. She's gone.
Right.
Yep.
All forms of communication have been taken from her, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as he sees this, Kevin runs back to the living room, and we see the toys are still suspended on the wall. The strange voice calls for Kevin, and it says sleep, and we just hear Kevin's body fall to the floor with a thud.
Yeah.
And then we've got this we've got this extended scene where the cartoon music stops, the TV image is flashing on a blue screen. You know, it picks up where it left off, and it just continues like that for a while. So
Yeah, it's in like a loop on this little dog cartoon.
Yeah. And it's as if it's being paused and then unpaused and then, just
Mhm.
back and forth like that on an old VHS player. And then we see a plushy snake toy on the floor, and it vanishes. Like it's being taken away or maybe even given to somebody somewhere
Maybe.
to appease Kaylee, maybe. And, you know, Kevin is trying to make the best out of a situation. He's scared, obviously, and he's just trying to ignore what's going on. He's playing with his toys, making a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like the entity or creature is getting jealous. And we hear the entity say, you know, I want to play.
Uh-oh.
I don't want to play any games he's playing.
Yeah, no.
It's bad when a disembodied, creepy voice says, "I want to play."
Yeah, for sure.
You're not going to win that game, folks.
No. Mm-mm. But Kevin, you know, he's like, maybe if I just ignore it, it will go away. You know, that's what we teach our kids a lot in life. You know, if we just ignore it, it'll go away. You know, but it does not. It keeps repeating itself. It's getting more aggressive towards Kevin. And each time he hears the entity's voice, there's more time in between him hearing it and him getting back to playing his toys. And eventually, you know, the begging starts again. This thing is getting very upset that Kevin is not paying attention to him, and Kevin just goes quiet. And we hear Kevin breathing very heavily, and this is one of the hardest scenes in the movie for me, I think. We hear the strange voice. He calls him by name, and then we hear the clicking of a utility knife. Mm-hmm. And the voice tells him to stick the knife in his eye. And we hear sobbing right before Kevin does it. Now, do you think, at this point, Kevin willingly did that, or do you think it forced him to? Or did you feel like he maybe felt like he had no choice, he had to do it, or it would
Yeah, I felt that he did it of his own free will because he was afraid if he didn't, that thing was going to do it to him.
Yeah.
I think that he did it, but he was under the command of whatever the monster was. So I think that the monster, through persuasion or whatever, fear, you know, techniques, just he did it because he, you know, the monster compelled him to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a combination of both. You know, he knows what this thing is capable of at this point. So he's obviously scared that if he doesn't, something worse could happen. So.
Yeah.
And then we just see a blood trail that's dripping down what appears to be a cabinet. And apparently Kevin fell asleep because the voice tells him to wake up. I mean, we don't know because we don't see Kevin ever.
Right.
So, but the voice tells him to wake up, and, you know, we hear the cartoon music. It's distorting and then turning off. We hear silence, and then this ominous tone that's like getting louder and louder and louder. And then we see what appears to be Dad's forehead, right? We don't actually see Dad's full face. We just see his forehead and his hair. And then we get a shot of Kaylee's head in the next shot. And then all of a sudden we get lots of imagery is happening during all of this. And then we hear the sound of like what a phone would sound like if it was off the hook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Old people, we know what we're talking about. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the young kids were just like, what the hell is she talking
Yeah,
about?
they're like,
what's that sound? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, but they're like, there's phones on walls?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, children, there was a time.
Right?
And it's like, why don't they just use their cell phone to call for help?
Because it's 1995.
They took all the cell phones, too. I mean, they took the damn toilets and the windows. They took their cell phones. Be quiet and watch the movie. So.
Yes. And so at this when he hears this, Kevin is a smart cookie and tries to call for help, right? And we hear him dialing, and the call we think the call goes through. Now, I want to ask you guys, do you think it actually went through, or is he talking to something else?
You know, I've read theories on this. There's a lot of people who think that that was just the monster, that whole thing was just orchestrated by the monster or the entity to throw him off, basically. I could kind of see that, because like then there's no, but again, time is kind of suspended in this movie. Like we don't really know anything about time, because I was like, well, if he did actually make the call, there should be somebody coming to this house like pretty soon. If they were talking to a child who's like, I'm by myself, I'm hurt, I'm cut, and I feel sick, you know? So I'm like, but again, time is so suspended in this. I don't know how much time has passed. So I say it's the monster that did it, or the entity, but it could have been real, and we just don't know how much time has passed, and 911 or whoever was on their way.
Well, you also presume that the house is still there. It may not be there. So even if they tried to go or even tried to track him, it may not have done any good.
Yeah, because if they're in some kind of like alternate dimension or something, then yeah, who knows if the house is actually there.
Yeah.
Correct.
If that's what's happening.
Right. Now, some may argue, and I'm just trying to play devil's advocate to all theories here. Some may argue, why would the monster ever allow them to make a phone call? Like, what good is that going to do? I think it messes with their head. So, and it messes with the audience's head too, because it's like, we don't know. Ethan, did you think that it was the monster, or did you think it was them actually getting through? What do you think?
No, I would have thought it was the entity.
Yeah. It sounds like a very friendly voice, almost too friendly, like very alarmingly friendly.
Something about it just didn't feel, like it was real, like a person.
Yeah. And so the call goes through, and we just hear Kevin saying, I hurt myself. I don't feel good. I feel sick. And then we've got this voice that is asked. This is why I think it's the entity, honestly, because he's asking a lot of questions very fast and not letting him answer. He's like, can you tell me how you're hurt? Are you bleeding? Can you be brave for me? Are your mom and dad home? Are you alone? Just keep talking to me and we'll send some grown-ups to help. Can you tell me why you're whispering? Is there someone in the room with you? And like, Kevin's not answering any of this. He's just gone quiet.
Yep. And
we hear him put the phone down. And he's like, I'm downstairs, but the doors are gone. And at that point he drops the phone. Kevin's using the flashlight to look around. This is one of the most intense scenes in the movie for me. And we hear Kevin say, you did that. It's almost like you're the one that is on the phone, kind of thing. And then we hear this distorted laughter. The voice is calling for Kevin, and then we've got this static sound that's just getting louder and louder and louder. It's so grating. Because at this point, I'm sure most audience members have turned up the sound on their TV because they can't hear anything. So then that static is just like right there. Yeah. And Kevin asks the entities, like, how did you do that? And the voice says, I can do anything. Kaylee didn't do as she was told. She said she wanted her mom and dad. So I took her mouth away.
Uh-oh, that is not good. Now we really know that. I mean, if we didn't already know, but things are like super ominous, and they've been ominous, but that's pretty ominous.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't do what I wanted. She asked for her parents, and so I took her mouth. What else are you taking from us?
The toilet.
The toilet.
The doors.
The windows.
The toilet thing is coming back to play here in a second. And the voice says, Kevin, come upstairs. Kevin goes upstairs, and then we hear this creature, entity, whatever you want to call it. It's reassuring him. And he's just saying, I will protect you. The banging sound returns. The camera has turned, and now Kevin is actually walking on the ceiling, which is really fun. I love it when movies do that. I really do.
I'm a sucker for it too, because like the ceiling like light is like the floor now, and you're like,
Yep.
oh wow, we just went upside down. Cool.
Yeah. We're functioning in a world that has no gravity now.
Yes.
And the voice just tells him to keep going. Kevin says, "Can I go back now?" And then we hear animal, like a faint animal call in the distance, growling noises. We hear Kevin whimpering, and the growl is getting louder. And at this point, it goes black. And we see it, the lights come back up, and not the actual lights, just the TV lighting. And we have a little thing on a little caption on the screen that says 572 days. So this is how long Kevin has been trapped inside of his own mind, unable to wake up, is what I read on Wikipedia. Now, 572 days is an awful long time with no toilet.
Yep.
Yes.
And no food. So I just want to, a lot of this movie's up for interpretation. So do you guys think that this is actually physically happening, or do you think it's all inside the kids' heads?
So this is so hard because, like our young star said, there are a lot of really good theories out there, and I've read a few in preparation of this. Some people look at it as we're in, a dream the whole time, like Kevin's dream maybe the whole time. I've seen that some people were like, I think Kevin is in a coma or something from his accident, from getting hurt. And that's why, and so some people think that the number, that 500 number, is how long he's been in a coma, or how long he's been, So that's a theory as well that I've seen. And then, of course, the other one is that this is actually physically happening to them, which I've seen everything from they're in a time loop. I've seen other people thought it was they're maybe in another dimension. It's so hard for me to say. Part of me wants to say it's inside his head because it feels very nightmarish. Like the things that happen feel like when you're in a nightmare. But at the same time, they really feel like it would feel if you were a kid and you're walking around your house at night and you hear noises and you start to wonder what it is, So like there's a reality there too. Makes it really hard. But I'm going to say I think it's like a nightmare. Or in his head in some way. I think we're not in a real space.
Okay.
Correct. I don't think
it's my thoughts, but it's tough.
Okay.
I think it's also a dream sequence of him. That was all in his mind. He was dreaming, or I never really thought of the coma thing, but yeah.
Same.
Yeah, the 572 when that came up. I felt like I had been watching this movie for 572 days already. So I think they put that in there just for me. But,
Ethan's doing the tally marks on the wall.
Exactly.
Day 570.
Ethan looks like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the paper on the wall, just like.
But yeah, no, I felt it was more of a dream sequence. So.
And part of it was the number for me, because I'm like, how would these kids survive at all, or how would Kevin survive for 572?
Right.
I think that's what we said. That many days, without parental assistance, without sunlight.
Water. Yeah.
There's not even any sunlight. And sunlight, when you're deprived of sunlight, that has an effect on you.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, I don't think he could survive, but I don't know.
But when we're talking supernatural entities being involved, anything could happen. So it's like all theories make sense and all theories don't make sense at the same time. So it's very interesting. This is a very interesting movie to try to interpret.
You can make up your own stuff.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
The only person that knows is the writer/director, Kevin. Or
and
Kyle.
I've read a couple interviews from him now at this point about the movie, and I will say I don't really think I've seen him say concretely what it is.
He does not.
And I think that's on purpose, because it's like it's designed to, be up for interpretation. I think it's one of those movies that's kind of designed for audiences to theorize and kind of come up with their own meaning for the movie. I think it's supposed to give it, there's a specific atmosphere and feeling that it wants to evoke, but it's up to you as the watcher to kind of decide what that means.
And it's more fun to not know, right? I think
so.
Yeah. So we get the disclaimer that's been 572 days. We see the kids' toys scattered all over the place. Cartoons start up. And then we get this weird sequence where the toys are like in a little pile in a hallway. And then the hallway gets longer and the toys get further and further and further away. And this hallway is like very unnatural feeling and unearthly looking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see what appears to be Kaylee's back to the camera, and they are sitting. And then we hear inhuman cries is how it's described with the subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
We get a series of images that appear with the flashlight turning on and off. We assume it's Kevin holding the flashlight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we focus on different objects, and then all of a sudden the flashlight turns off and we see what appears to be eyeballs. Not human eyeballs, but like very cartoony looking eyeballs.
Yep.
And the flashlight turns on and we get this creepy little telephone toy. And you all know, if you knew in the 90s, like we've all seen toys like this, right? It's very
I
creepy.
know that toy, and it's
I had that
creepy.
toy.
Yeah, I know.
Me
I'm
too.
like, I know you. You were never fun. There was something about you that wasn't right.
And that scared the piss out of me when it rang. So
Yeah.
Yeah, because he like turns the flashlight on, off, and then you just see the eyes, and then all of a sudden you turn the flashlight on, and it does that ring, and the eyes move, and
No, when the eyes like closed or whatever, and I'm like, ah.
That was one of the scariest freaking parts of the movie.
It was creepy.
And then we hear whispering. It's very indistinct. We can't make out what's being said. This weird whirring sound starts. We see very strange childlike looking images, not human looking. We see children, like it appear like not actual children, but like pictures of children.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them have heads.
Yeah.
Right?
Again, you don't see faces and heads, and like so most of the photos are headless, or the face is like totally like distorted,
Blank,
blurred out. Yeah.
Very strange. And then we hear a child screaming, and we see blood splattering over and over again. The monster's screaming, and then we get it like rewinding and then like going forward again and just repeating over and over again. Very creepy.
Yeah.
And then we just hear more screaming. We hear a voice calling for mommy, as we hear strange laughter. The flashlight clicks on. Kaylee's name is said. And then we hear someone asking. I didn't know who it was that was asking. I assumed it was Kevin.
Same.
Can we watch something happy now? And then the cartoon music starts. A door reappears. The screen is dark, right? But then we slowly can make out a human looking person or creature.
Uh-huh.
And it almost, you can't make out the face, but you can see that it has human characteristics, and it almost appears to smile very malevolently at you.
Mm-hmm.
And some people interpret it as the creature entity talking to Kevin. I thought it was, when I was watching it, both times I've seen it now, I interpreted it as the creature or entity talking to you, the audience member, right? And it says, go to sleep. And then it says, what's your name? And then it asks you again, what is your name? And it's like, why would you ask for a name if you're talking to Kevin?
correct.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to black, and then we just see, the ends. This scene especially creeps me the fuck out. Like, I don't like it, especially when it's talking directly to you.
And it's creepy because, like, you can't, again, it's that not being able to fully make it out. And, your mind has to kind of fill in the blanks and the gaps of, like, what you can't see, and what you don't know. So it does make it scary because you're like, oh, I can kind of see it. And it looks kind of human, but it also kind of looks not, like, completely. And, like, my brain is working here trying to fill in those gaps of what this could be, but I can't.
Yeah. And there's something, it reminds me of Sinister in a way, because it had that fourth wall breaking kind of element where it's like, you are no longer in a movie. The movie has extended to you, and it has dragged you into this, and you are now a part of the movie type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I love that kind of thing. I'm a big fan of that when it happens and it's done well. And I think
Yeah.
this is an example of it being done well. So,
And it goes back to that, to me, like experiential, like immersive art. Like,
yes.
like again, it pulls you in. It asks you to put yourself in the low angle of a child and view this space as though you were a child. You know, like the characters, and yeah, at the end you're pulled right back into it again like that. So very experiential and immersive in that sense.
Very much so. All right. And that's the end of the movie. So, Jamie, let's get into some fun facts before we talk about what we thought about the movie.
Sure. Okay. So this one's definitely really interesting. Okay. So first of all, this movie was primarily crowdfunded. They spent $15K on it, and it made like over $2 million. So this movie did pretty darn well, considering the budget that they had and everything like that. Now, there was a bit of a glitch when this movie was streaming for film festivals. So it basically got pirated, it got downloaded and distributed on the internet. From that point, it went viral. TikTokers started saying, oh, this is the scariest movie I've ever seen. Reddit started saying that as well. So that kind of like gave the movie a boost. And then Shudder and IFC Midnight, streamed it and everything too. I read from the director, he said, am I happy that it was pirated, stolen? No, of course not. It was kind of a scary time, just not knowing what would happen next. However, am I happy that it exposed more people to this movie? Yes, absolutely. So that's kind of why it became a little sensation over the internet. The shoot was 7 days. It took place in the director's childhood home in Edmonton, Alberta, I think. Might be right, in Canada.
Yes.
So some of the items that we see in the movie are childhood items of the directors, including some of the toys. There's a picture in there. So he said, I didn't really have to like figure out the house, learn it. I grew up in it. I knew it already. I had my childhood there. Throughout a lot of the movie, people claimed that they thought they were seeing things in the darkness, in the grain, and I did too. There were multiple points where I'm looking and I'm like, is there something moving in that? I can't really tell. The director said that was a happy accident. And he said he's heard that too. He's had people tell him, oh, during this moment, I saw this. And he's like, oh, you did? Okay. Cool. But he was like, maybe my director of photography knows, but he was like, it's just a happy accident. That's just what the grain of that graininess kind of makes your mind do.
Yeah, he did say that there is one particular scene where there is something intentionally placed, but other than that, and he says most people haven't found it yet. So I think that's fun.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
So the director kind of started off doing a YouTube channel where he made these videos based off of people's like dreams and nightmares. And I read an interview where he said he discovered something really interesting about that. He had a lot of people reaching out and commenting and saying, I've had that same dream. I've had that dream. And so he said that he thinks most people have this dream at some point in their lives in some iteration. At least that's what it seemed like. And it's, I'm from the age of 6 to 10. I'm home. My parents are dead or missing, and there's a monster. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the movie right there. And he just said it was very interesting that people all said they had that dream at some point in their lives. There is a short film called Heck that he did. That's kind of like a proof of concept for this one. I've actually heard people say they enjoyed it more than Skinamarink. I've heard some people say it's a little bit more, I don't know if linear is the right word, but a little bit more. You get a little bit more explanation, apparently. I think I mentioned this, but I think there's like 500 words of dialogue in total in this movie, maybe a little over 500. The other thing I jotted down that I thought was really cool is the director basically decided to create a set of rules before he ever started writing, which I love. I love people's processes, and I thought that was interesting. And some of his rules were like, I'm not going to show faces, it's all going to take place in one location in the house. So yeah, he had like a whole framework before he even jotted any words down. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I love that. I have one more bit of fun fact for you. The voice of the monster or the entity is done by the director Kyle Edward Ball.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fun. All right, let's get into rating this movie. I guess I'll start because isn't a first time watch for me. I recommended this movie for you guys, and I forced you to watch it. So I apologize now.
I'm happy I saw it. I thought it was an interesting experience, and I like to have experiences when I'm watching stuff. Sometimes I just like something I can zone out on, but sometimes I like something where I'm like, I'm there. I tried to like put myself in that mindset of like, I am the 6-year-old, the 5-year-old kid wandering around the house hearing the noises. Okay.
I think it's more fun that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen this movie twice now. It's not one I like to revisit because, well, for one, it's a bit of a commitment because you have to pay attention to really enjoy it, I think. And I think the less I see it and occasionally revisit every once in a while, I think it's more fun that way. Because, there are so many things that you miss, and then there's things that your imagination sees in the grain and things that you may not have caught the first few times. But I think it's a fun watch. I think that the last 30 to 40 minutes of this movie really makes the movie for me. The first hour drags a little bit. I'll give you guys that. It does drag. You don't know what the hell is going on. But sometimes it is fun to have a movie where you don't know what's going on. I think the camera work is very incredible. There's moments where the camera is literally the child's eyes. And I love the moment where Kaylee closes her eyes and then you literally see eyes. Like, I want to know how they did that. That's incredible. This movie feels like a real life creepypasta. The camera is like another character in the film. Same with the sound design and the lighting. It's very creepy, eerie. Your imagination does the work. And there's the innocence of the children and the cartoons. Like, I think that's just sets it apart even more because you care about these kids and you've never even seen them. But the voices, it just adds another sense of eeriness and innocence to the film. It really honestly gave me vibes of staying up late as a kid and being the only one awake in the house. And these kids are utterly alone. There's no connection to the outside world. I loved it. Is it the best movie in the world? No, of course not. But is it fun for me? Yes. And I only care about my opinion right now, so it's an 8. So I would recommend it to anybody because I think it's worth a watch if you like artsy movies. It gave me David Lynch vibes. And with what's been happening lately, I think that's really cool because obviously there will never be another David Lynch, but this gave me Eraserhead vibes. So I loved it. It's definitely a movie you need to watch with all the lights off and just be quiet. Put the phone down and enjoy the film because you're going to have an experience. So that is my take.
Jamie, go ahead.
Oh, saving Ethan for last. Okay. So I liked a lot of the same things that Nina did. Anybody who knows my taste in movies was probably like, this has Jamie written all over it. So especially when I started to delve into the process that the filmmaker used, like I was like, ooh, I really like stuff like that. Like the framework he created for himself, like that's a really big challenge as a director. So I liked that. Like I said, I think it more, I think the atmosphere and the feeling is more straightforward than the actual like answers and plot, It definitely gives you a creepy vibe. I think the way that they filmed it definitely made you feel from that child perspective pretty much the whole time. There's a discomfort in that. Low angles like that where you're shooting up tend to make people feel uncomfortable because it makes the world around you look big, and looming. That being said, like the only things that I would change about this movie, I probably would have shortened it just a tiny bit, and that would have really just been taking out some of the repetitive imagery in the beginning. I think it would have a little bit more impact if we didn't have some of the repetitive imagery in the beginning, like you said, that first hour. So if they shorten that a little bit, and I will say, I am a person who I struggle with movies where I can't see, like just physically, like I struggle with movies where I can't see. And so, obviously it needs to be in darkness because that's what they're experiencing. But I would have liked to have just a tiny bit more visibility. It doesn't have to be like all throughout the movie, just some moments, a few more moments of visibility, maybe a little bit more of, because I actually thought that the doll moment was pretty creepy. Like when she has the flashlight and she's going up the wall and you see the doll just like hanging out there on the wall in space, you know, like I would have liked to see a little bit more of that because I thought that was really creepy and cool. All that being said, I think I'm going to give it like a 7. I'm rating it as an art piece. I'll say that first, because I think it's a really good piece of art. Not one that I would probably revisit all that often because I think like what you said, Nina, I think like the more you watch it, if you watched it a lot, it would kind of like destroy the feeling and the sense of confusion and just the what is going on. So I would definitely recommend it because it's a really interesting movie. I think it's fascinating that TikTokers and Reddit were like, this movie scared me. This is the scariest thing I've seen, you know, and I'm like, TikTok, you're talking about an audience that's catered to short stuff. And this is a movie that deeply requires patience from you. It asks you to be patient to get a payoff, you know? So I think it's very interesting that people who are mostly watching short form content were like, this movie's scary. So I don't know what that means, but I thought that was interesting.
That's a very good point, Jamie. I love that you made that connection.
It's very interesting. Like, what does that say about like what we're really looking to consume? But yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Ethan.
Yeah.
Well. Okay. I do want to start by saying I think that the kids did a great job.
Absolutely.
That I really do. I'm not just blowing sunshine up people's rear ends. I really do think that they did a good job. That was good. Yes, it's an artsy movie. I can see where, you know, you could look at it from losing a loved one or not being there or having parents, you know, neglect or abuse. I can see all of that. I get it. But it was way too slow.
Yeah.
The first hour, way too slow. And I mean, anybody who knows me knows the type of movie that I like. I like slashers. You know, I want somebody busting in and ripping somebody's head off. That's my type of movie. Yeah. Was this the worst movie that I've ever seen? No, it wasn't the worst movie. It ranks with some of the worst movies I've ever seen. Now, the entity stole toilets, doors, windows, and 100 minutes of my life. So,
what felt like 572 days.
Felt like right? 572 days of my life. But, you know, some people are going to agree with me and be like, yes, it was terrible. Some people are not, and they're going to be like, Ethan, you know what the hell you're talking about. I side with the girls because it's great. You guys would be wrong, but that's okay. I do, you know, 1 through 3, meaning you don't have to watch it at all. It's terrible. Save it. 4 through 6, you ain't got nothing else to do. Throw it on while you're doing the laundry, whatever. That's great. And then 7 through 10, I recommend it. I say, watch it. It's a great movie. I'm going to have to give this a 2. Okay. I'm going to have to give it a 2. If somebody said, recommend a movie to me, this would never be the movie.
Really?
No, and it's not that it's a bad movie. It's just not my cup of tea. That's just not my. It's not the stuff that I like.
Understandable.
It's supernatural. It's not a slasher.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with
action in it.
Yeah. It's.
I mean, I know plenty of movies that fit into that category where it's supernatural-esque. You don't really know what the hell is going on.
Right.
But you still end up liking it. There are movies that fit that category.
Absolutely.
This is not one of them.
This is not one of them.
That's fair.
This is not one of them.
I will give you, I think that the first hour is very fucking dull.
Yeah.
It is.
I think if they would have shortened it up and maybe it would have been like a 45-minute movie or, you know what I mean? A short, I could have got behind it.
Yeah.
but I was just like the first hour, I was just like, okay, it's the ceiling, it's the wall, it's the ceiling, it's the wall, it's the floor, it's a doll, it's a phone. I get it. Let's go. Something please happen.
Yeah.
And
I think if we could have had a bit more dialogue or maybe a few more jump scares, it would have made it more interesting if we're going to keep the length. But otherwise, I definitely could have done with some editing for sure. Yeah. Because for this type of thing, you just need a bit more action, a bit more something to hold the engagement of the audience, because asking for an hour before it really gets amped up, like it's a big ask in today's world. So
it is. I will say I'm very, very interested to see, the director, Kyle Edward Ball. He has been, it has been announced that he's working on an A24 project now. It's called The Land of Nod. There is very little about the plot out there or really anything about it, but I'm very, very curious to see what he does next and what he does with, some more money, because he's working with A24 and to see their kind of vision too. It's going to be really interesting to see what that's like and what that is.
Definitely. I'm very excited to see what he's got cooked up next. It could be anything and I'm here for it. So I'm hoping that with a bit more budget and a bit more creative minds involved, that it can go somewhere, and maybe they can give him some creative feedback that will benefit. So
sure.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I think it's worth a watch because it is so polarizing, so I'm like, watch it to just see what you think. And it's like, see what it's all about. You've heard the name, you've heard Skinamarink. If you're a horror fan, if you haven't seen it yet, you've heard that and you're like, wait a minute, isn't that a kid's song like Skinamarink? What is this? What is it? Like, at least put it on and give it a try.
Put it on, give it a try, and when you turn it off, get on our socials and be like, Ethan was right. So
I do want to hear what people thought. Like, please.
I do want to hear what everybody thinks. So please hit us up on our socials and let us know.
Definitely.
Tell us your theories too, because there's so many theories I've read about that. Like, some of them I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of what I thought too, and some of them I'm like, I would have never thought that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a very polarizing movie, and I can't wait to hear more people's theories about it. I want to know if you hated it. I want to know why. I mean, I guess I can interpret why, but I would still like to hear from everybody. I think it's a very interesting movie to discuss. So,
me too.
Yeah. And just remember, guys, if you ever find yourself in a horror movie, don't have sex.
Don't do drugs.
And certainly don't die. We'll see you next time.
Bye.